13 or almost 14 minutes gone past the hour of 5. Time for you and I to push the conversation a notch higher here on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Hard facts with Kala Dakorubatubo is what we are having right now. Remember, you can watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube, Nigeria Info PH, and we're active on X, Nigeria Info PH as well. And what is my conversation today? Is Judgment Day, and so I'm going to be looking at the judgments. I'm going to be looking at the presidential election judgments. A couple of them come in already. Remember, it started around 9:27 a.m. today, and it's ongoing once again on 5:15 p.m. Currently, they are looking at the petition filed by the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and the PDP, INEC, and the PEPC. So we've seen certain judgments already. We've seen the talk about double nomination. We've seen the talk about 25% votes. We've seen the talk about irregularities that marked the court said that there was not enough evidence to prove electronic transmission of result, and we've been told it's not mandatory. That's what court has said. We've seen the conversation around Tinubu's alleged criminal status in the United States, and then the court took into consideration a letter written by a one-time IGP, Inspector General of Police, to the Embassy of the United States, and the reply from that embassy saying there is no criminal record of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the United States. It also treated, I did not follow because I was in the studio, but I want to believe it also treated the issue of certification, and right now it struck out the petition by the party. It has dismissed the petition. Abuja, like every other state, acting to the argument. And the truth is, I'm not going to play the court on Atiku's petition, but Atiku's petition is similar, almost like that of the Labour Party. Of course, there was the first one that was struck out, and that was the petition by, I keep forgetting the name of that party. I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember it now. Oh my goodness. Okay, but when I remember the name of the party, because that was the first 8 p.m. Yeah, 8 p.m. That was the party who filed a petition concerning dual nomination of the vice president, first as a senatorial candidate and later, as a vice presidential candidate. But according to Justice Amani, he did that withdrew his nomination as a senatorial candidate. Withdrew it even for the election, the primary election, or any of the election. He withdrew it before he was now nominated the vice presidential candidate. And he said by withdrawal, that does not, make it a double nomination. He also said that, I think he quoted some other part, I can't remember it. I'm supposed to have a lawyer who joins me on this conversation. He's not here. So just you and I for now, pending when he joins the conversation, and we'll talk for the development of our country. Yeah. So I want to hear from you, pending my guest joining us on conversation. What do you make of some of the things that they talked about? The define for feature. If you've been following, if you've been watching, the define for feature using the dictionary. Now, it does not necessarily mean somebody has been cleared, even though you feated an amount of or whatever it is, a property of some sort to the government. They also looked at the issue of I think it was 25%, right? Yeah. And they said FCT in that clause, in that statement, is like every other state. So let's hear from you now. Are you satisfied? No, I don't like that question. I'm going to withdraw that. Yes, the day before yesterday, I had a guest. I had Choma Choko in. Choma Choko did say that you can have a good case, but you can have a lawyer who does not know how to argue your case in court. Maybe that's what is played out for those who are aggrieved. Maybe that's not what is played out. But generally, from your layman perspective, how do you judge today's proceedings? How do you, what are your thoughts basically? I'm just trying to ensure that I have got the right questions so as not to lead us into, barroom conversations, but rather we can have a conversation for development. So I'm gonna open the phone lines right now. 0817 923 0002 and 0817 923 0003. Live on Facebook, drop comments there. Nigeria Info PH. Live on YouTube, go drop your comments there as well. Nigeria Info PH. We're active on X. Nigeria Info PH. For WhatsApp, 0809 030 Let's. Okay, so just gave me 8 p.m. mentioned a lot of people's movement. You said I'm dialing in Oguche. Thank you very much for helping me remember. This one says FCT is now state going forward. We now have 37 states in Nigeria, but they do not have a governor. Or is it the FCT minister that is the governor? Thanks, Triumph for Port Harcourt. But Triumph, I do think, not a lawyer, and that's why I'm going to wait for the lawyer to come in, but I do think that the reason why it is said it is like, they did not say it is a state, it is like, it is because of, the clause that you should have 25% in, is it 20, I can't remember now, 2/3, yes, of the 36 states, and it says, and the federal government. So it now is saying that the and is saying all of them are classified into one. You should have 25% in all of them. That's what it is. It did not say the FCT is now a state. But hey, I'm going to wait for the lawyers. It's getting interesting, really interesting right now. Oh my goodness. All right. 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, what's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, this is Tonte. I'm calling from Rumaholu.
All right, Tonte from Rumaholu, welcome. So what's on your mind? I've asked the questions. What are you thinking?
It's really unfortunate the way the petition tribunal are giving the judgment, because I can't believe they are not trashing out all the kids from the Labour Party. Okay, look at the first one. They said expert analyst has already said there were anomalies in the election. And then they are saying it's not enough. Why would they say it's not
They are
enough?
not saying it's not enough. They're saying they did not prove there is not enough evidence. Now, you who have alleged, according to the courts, it's in the Constitution, when you allege, you should be able to prove. And they're saying that the people who have petitioned the court did not come with enough proof.
The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Simply because there is no proof, substantial proof, that there are anomalies in the election. It doesn't mean that there are no anomalies in the election.
No. The court has not said there are no anomalies. The court has now said that you've not been able to prove. And the court, like people would say, the court cannot give you what you did not ask for. That's what the problem is.
Basically, what I'm saying is there are no knowns, there are no unknowns. There are even the unknown, which are the truth. We don't know that we don't know.
All right.
But the knowns are the things that we know, even though we don't have evidence.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'm trying to follow. I'm trying to follow you. All right then. All right. Thank you very much. Tonte. I've got to let you go. There's a commercial break coming up. My guest is ready. So once we're done with the commercial break, I would get through to my guest. I'm not introducing him yet, so I want you to stay tuned. After the commercial break and the news headline, we'll push the conversation forward. Stay tuned.
Nigeria Info.
All right, 28 minutes to the top of the hour. Like I promised you, I do have a guest. It's a lawyer and a broadcaster and also a public affairs analyst. So he fits into the conversation right now. We're looking at several verdicts so far in the ongoing proceeding. It's Judgment Day. We're looking at the judgment at the Presidential Election Petition Court. And I've got Festus Oguche, yet again a lawyer, a public affairs analyst and a broadcaster. Welcome on the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
All right, so we've seen APM, we've seen Labour Party petitions dismissed by the Presidential Election Petition Court. There are several issues raised. 25% Abuja, criminality in the US, certification, for feature, several things we talked about. Even
qualifications.
Yeah, I've mentioned that one. Double nomination. Yeah, so when you look at all of these things and the court saying, for double nomination, Shatima withdrew from the senatorial race before accepting to be, the vice presidential candidate. What do you make of that? What do you make of 25% saying what and the Federal Capital Territory in that statement of having 2/3 of the votes means that it's part of the 36 states? What do you make of that? What do you make of some of the things that we've heard by the court? Let's start from there.
The thing is that the decision is still ongoing. They are yet to conclude that of the last party. I think that's the last rung of the decision.
Yeah.
And we can only appreciate it better if we have a copy of the decision, the judgment, and read through it. So whatever one says here is something that may be verifiable upon the obtaining of the proper certified copy of the decision. The truth is that, just like you rightly pointed out, a lot of issues are raised: issues of law, issues of jurisprudence, issues of election petitions, principles that need to be tested in the higher courts. Thank God, the wrong is just halfway. So the parties still have recourse to the Supreme Court for the proper interpretation of some of these issues that are raised. The issue of 25% recourse. You recall that the tribunal had recourse to away from the positions of Section 134 to the preamble and Chapter 2 on the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, and said that you do not give a literal interpretation of the Constitution. Is the fact that the provision is unambiguous, that the interpretation has to be purposive, and maybe sometimes relying on robbery and against the state, and the position of Nicky Toby, JSC, may his soul rest in peace, in AG Bender against AG Federation, that if in interpretation, the provision of the Constitution has the entire provisions together, as to determine whether the word "and" means a conjunctive phrase or one that can be interpreted the other way. But I know very well that you don't circumvent the provisions of the Constitution, particularly when the provisions are very clear and unambiguous. The word "and" is placed ambiguously there, and it's deliberate. So I have my reservations on that aspect of the judgment, and because it has to do with the electorate. And if the Constitution meant otherwise, you would have specifically used that word. You should have used the word "or." Though I know very well that we have better illumination on the properties of that particular position.
So are you saying
ascriptions?
Sorry, you've introduced, this is English language now. Now you've brought "or," you've expanded the conversation. So are you saying that the justices of the election court were right in the assertion that 25% meant the 36 states, including the Abuja
the provision
FCT.
is clear and unambiguous.
Okay.
Section 134 of the Constitution that is 2/3 of the states in so number of states and the Federal Capital Territory. I am saying that particular part of the decision needs better elimination and better expansion of the frontiers of the interpretation given to it by the tribunal. But I know that when words are used in the Constitution, they are used deliberately. And probably there may not have to be a recourse to the preamble of the Constitution where equality was emphasized, or to Chapter 2 on fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy to get to understand the meaning of that particular word and the understanding of that particular provision, in terms that I would say that the Supreme Court will be in a much better position to shed light on that particular provision.
All right.
That there won't be much ambiguity on it in future. But I'm not really very comfortable with the decision of that court in that particular area.
All right,
so
you're saying we should wait for the Supreme Court. So let's get to the issue of double nomination. Double nomination. What did you make of the assertion of the court?
Well, the court said that the person referred to as having been nominated doubly had withdrawn his nomination prior to him becoming a vice presidential candidate. But I know that it is annulled, it is invalidated, it is found against by the Electoral Act. And the court said that only the provisions of the Constitution can set out the areas of disqualification, that anything outside of it cannot apply. But I'm beginning to think that even if there's some ingredients for disqualification, some conditions for disqualification and qualification of the Constitution, does that stop any other law from further bringing more ground from more areas that
but then again,
I guess
Barrister, now there is the point where the court did say that even though you want to look at it from the Electoral Act 2022, that there was the withdrawal and the letter writing to the appropriate channels of the withdrawal of his nomination first as a senatorial candidate before he was able to accept the so it did not amount to multiple nomination. Do you agree with that?
Well, yes, if there's a withdrawal, it depends on at what stage the withdrawal was made. And I know that there are implications for that kind of nomination where there is multiple, for instance, for a particular candidate in terms of his qualification. To that extent, I would say that we have to hold our whatever proclivities we have on that particular issue and wait for the Supreme Court to make a definite pronouncement on it. What the tribunal says is that you cannot go outside the qualifications and disqualifications under the Constitution or merge it with whatever is contained in the Electoral Act. And I'm saying that it is really wrong in going outside the Constitution if there's another law that sets out other areas of disqualification. But like I said, it's something that's a little not quite clear on the point, and I think the Supreme Court should shed more light on it. But to the extent that I understand, multiple nomination, double nomination is offensive to the law. It's even regarded in some point under the Electoral Act as a crime.
Petition court. What do you
mean? Also further went ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
To state that it cannot be raised, that issue, that objection cannot be raised validly by a political party. It has to be a candidate in that particular process who participated in the nomination.
Yes.
That has and I made a reference to existing authorities of the Supreme Court to that effect. But then I'm just looking at it from the point of view of the law and how it is construed. And then if those such matters can be ones that can be said to be pre-election, at the end, and nobody raised it, and nobody objected to it, and nobody fought against it, then of course it all means that we have to have a strict compartmentalization of matters that are pre-election and those that are post-election under the law, so that people can be guided appropriately. So there's no need for electoral reforms, to design and put a particular premium on some of these provisions that are a little bit ambiguous.
Now let's get to the issue of electronic transmission, IREV, and the forms that were given to the agents. The court did assert that it's not one means of transmission. They define transmission, transfer, and I think another vocabulary used in the Electoral Act of 2022. And it did say yes, the Commission, INEC, should use electronic transmission through the beavers, but also has got other means of transferring results from one point to the other, and said that the petitioners failed to prove that, okay, fine, they did not use electronic, but what about the other means of transferring results? Were they faulty? Were they bad? Were they not done appropriately? What do you make of the assertion by the court, or the argument, so to say?
Well, I think the court was very elaborate at that point. The particular judge giving that judgment spent quite some time in explaining that one. I would say that it was very clear, I mean, from the point of view of the tribunal, that there's no legislation compelling INEC to transmit or transfer results in a particular way. That it's rather at the discretion of the tribunal, relying on the Federal High Court case, which was instituted by the Labour Party, where that was very, very settled. They even raised the issue of res judicata, that matter having been determined that the Federal High Court, the petitioner is foreclosed from raising it here again when that matter had not been appealed from the Federal High Court. I would say that if you look at the evidence, the Electoral Act itself, it's quite an uphill task to point at any particular provision that says that results must be transmitted in a particular way by INEC. And it left it quite omnibus, and that is so contrary to the popular understanding people had about the Electoral Act prior to it coming into force. And we have gotten the impression that electoral results will be transmitted from the polling units. And that impression that people had, and people felt it can be something that can be challenged for the tribunal. But if you look at the law itself, there's no clear-cut provision saying that the INEC must be compelled to transmit election results or transfer election results in any way. The tribunal is quite emphatic on that point, and I think that one is particularly rested because we cannot see any provision that says it must be transferred or transmitted to anything in any particular way. I think it's more of an exercise of discretion, which exactly calls for more reforms of the Electoral Act, so that some of these provisions that will guide election operators and election officers to ensuring that these things are done appropriately will be properly changed.
Okay, so now let's move to other issues. Narcotics allegation, the issue of school certification. The court did say that it relied for narcotics. It did say relied on the IGP's letter to the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, and the response the IGP at the time, back then got, I think it was in 2003, the reply got from the embassy. Was that good enough evidence to quash that argument by the petitioners?
Well, whether good enough or not, I know very well that the court has said that they have gone ahead to make elaborate predictions of the word prohibition of an offense. It says it's a felony, a violation of a criminal suit. It should enumerate, it should come by way of a charge, a proper charge for criminal dishonesty before the court. And the court observed that the case was in the civil docket of the court in the United States, and it's an action in civil jurisdiction, under the civil jurisdiction of the court, and it's not an action in personam, as is very attributable to criminal cases, that the action must be in personam, like the state versus Festus, the state versus XYZ. The tribunal has said that there's no need to prove any crime in forfeiture, because all that happened was a forfeiture. And it's the property, not the owner, that is the target of that forfeiture, citing the provisions of the Economic and Financial Crimes Act, Commission Act. So the tribunal is anchoring its position on the fact that it's not one for a criminal trial, a conviction. Bola Tinubu was not sentenced to any term of imprisonment or fine. He was never convicted. There was no criminal charge for the court and the trial. When the trial proceedings was not for any criminal activity. So it's not an action in personam, and it's not a sentence. But I look at it again from the point of view of the fact that the tribunal may have missed the point of recognizing that drug crime is an international crime. So it may not be something that should be construed within the laws of the Federation of Nigeria and the laws of the United States of America to the extent to which that can be called a convention, but rather the international conventions on crime, on drug execution. But there's not no emphasis though pointing to the fact that he was involved in this and that. It was just a forfeiture.
Right.
Whatever that means, whether it pertains to a particular drug crime or it relates with anything relating to having to do with drug crime, it's not very emphasized, very much emphasized in that decision of the U.S. court. But I think all these should have been put together and to ensure that maybe the proper things are done, considering also the fact that it's viewed as a serious crime under international law. The court went ahead to cite Section 189 of the American Money Laundering Law, under which the forfeiture was made.
Right.
It's civil matter, purely a civil matter, and also relied on Section 249 of our own Evidence Act.
All right.
To prove that it's purely a civil matter. It's not one that has criminal connotations, doesn't have criminal culpability. That we can say that the person has been convicted of dishonesty under the Constitution as to disqualify him from becoming the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay, so I've got a commercial break coming up, and after that, the major news. So I would call you back, let's say by 6:30. By then, hopefully the petition of the PDP would have been looked at, and then we will not put it side by side with what the court said about the Labour Party's petition, allegations of irregularities and all of that the Labour Party was not able to prove its case. So we'll look at that with what the court will say about the PDP's petition, and we'll talk some more, maybe 10-15 more minutes, and then I would have to let you go. But for now, let's have a break. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you.
All right then. Festus Oguche, lawyer, broadcaster, public affairs analyst. But I had to say 5 minutes before the commercial break so that you and I can have a conversation about the issues. What do you think? What were the high points for you in that court proceeding? What were the high points for you in that, it's still ongoing, so in this court proceeding? 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. Let's run quickly the time that we've got left. You can send in your messages to the number 0809-0306416. My guest did say that for Abuja and 25%, that the Supreme Court would have to do the explanation because it's still a bit confusing. It said for the issue of transmission, whether electronically or manually, it says both can work. For, narcotics conviction or not, he explained it. He said there was nothing there, and the court was right, and the court made references to relevant laws. And where else did we talk about? You heard us, you listened. We also talked about double nomination, and he said, there is more explanation to be done there. But if there was a withdrawal and it was done before the primary election, then there's no case. But hey, let's get to hear from you. Okay, let's just take the calls now. Hello, what's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Yeah, good evening, Canada.
Yeah, good evening, your name?
My name is Chooks from Port Harcourt.
All right, Chooks from Port Harcourt, welcome.
Hi, I listened to your guest, and I also was following up the judgment on TV.
All right.
Just like your guest said, you see that 85% in Abuja. I guess it's very clear. We all know the meaning of and.
No, he said it was ambiguous. He did not say it was plain. He said the and. Should it have been and or or?
But for me, I don't say ambiguity in it.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
It's speaking English now. Someone will not make it very difficult in our country.
But you had the part where it says it should not be read literally. He also did mention it. The court mentioned it. My guest mentioned it, that there is a part of the Constitution that says it should not be read literally, and there's also a Supreme Court judgment to that effect.
Canada.
Yeah.
If what the those that wrote the Constitution, if in their wisdom maybe they meant including Abuja as a state. They just said 25% in all the states.
Okay. So now let's do. Since you want to do a bit of English, let's do English now. So they said get 2/3 of 36 states, because that's what we have. We've got 36 states and Abuja. Abuja is not a state, so they could not have put Abuja as a state. I don't know, English language now, right? You want to explain it literally. So if they say, wait, now I'm going somewhere. If Abuja is included, but since Abuja is not a state, what would they say? The best way to write it will be 2/3 of the 36 states and Abuja.
Now, what I'm trying to say is that I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Like I was discussing with somebody, that the English use might not be the intention of the originator of those that. But the thing is that now you just based on the English and not based on the intention.
Okay. All right. So how do we know the intention? Now, that's where the problem is. But I've got to let you go. I'm sorry. I really have got to let you go. The commercial break is upon us now. And when we come back, we'll talk some more. Trust me. Stay tuned.